Hello and welcome to another City Talks virtual Q&A. We changed the name from live to virtual because some people thought it was still an offline event that we used to do, but we're not. Hello, my name is Robin. I'm co-founder of A City Made by People. Some call me even City Enthusiast Officer. So I'm, the proud member of doing these monthly talks. And I'm happy that you're all here. I hope all tuned in for this month's theme around friendship. And it's crazy time. I mean, even here, I'm in Amsterdam now, we're in partial lockdown. Other cities like Melbourne have left partially the lockdown. So, we're all facing the same struggles. So it's good to unite and have a good conversation and look for each other in these strange times. Before we introduce a group of speakers we have arranged for tonight, I'm first going to do a short introduction about A City Made by People. So some of you might already know whom we are, but we're an international network of city enthusiasts and change makers who really, for years already have come together to learn, connect, to roll up our sleeves and to celebrate the city that we live in. So, and our mission is that we really want to bring people like yourself together, our city enthusiasts, so we can facilitate these meaningful connections and empower you to work on a better city, on a thriving city. So looking at this visual, for example, it's all about social connection. It's about people. It's about empowering them. And together as a collective or as a movement, we can build a thriving city. So luckily, we've been able to build a nice network around ourselves of those city enthusiasts who help us find great speakers to craft amazing stories from their cities. And on the right side, you see the list of cities that we have. And we're proud to say even the list is growing with Berlin, Helsinki on board as well, who soon are going to contribute to this network as well. What is a city enthusiast? For us, a city enthusiast is someone who wants to learn, who wants to get to know about initiatives and learn about cool, inspiring stories, who want to connect, be part of a community and really, be part of something they can belong to, but also they want to roll up their sleeves and really create a better city and not just sit there and wait for it to happen. And of course, to celebrate, because not everything is an issue. We can also celebrate what's already out there, which is amazing. And we have done so through content online, through a magazine, through our offline events, same as these city talks, and even soon, and that's almost going to happen within the next week already, we're going to launch a membership platform where we're also going to provide a lot more cool stuff. Think about how-to challenges we put in there. So definitely stay tuned on what's happening next week because it's going to be one hell of an exciting one. And part of that launch, we're going to start off with a Better Citizen Challenge, which is happening next week. It's a 4-day challenge, and we encourage everyone, every city enthusiast, to sign up via acitymadebypeople.com/challenge. You'll receive a challenge in your inbox or as part of a Facebook group, which we invite you to take part in, also to get more connected and celebrate your city through creativity. So I'm not going to spoil more on what those daily challenges are. If you go to this website now, you find out about what those daily challenges are. And we hope to see you take part in it so we can support our cities. I mean, it's a crazy time out there. I think, we all are in a boat of little acts of kindness. And as a bonus, the one who's performing best across all these challenges will, as one of the first, be able to win an annual membership for free. So, we hope that someone will take part that takes the prize and enjoy our membership approach. But enough about us. I'll get back to the Better Citizen Challenge after this, after our Q&A today. It's not about us today. It's about bringing on these great speakers. So how have friendships changed during the pandemic? I'd like to bring up first Arthood Collective from Amsterdam. We've invited Crystal, and let me get her on board.
Hi.
Hey, Crystal.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Yes, I'm good. Are you safe and healthy?
Yes, I am. You too?
Great. Yes, absolutely. I'm going nowhere. I'm just stuck at home. So this is all I do. But hey, welcome, and please share us a bit about about Art Collective. What is it all about?
We started in 2016. Me and my sister are from Sweden. We're now living in Amsterdam. My sister lives in Rotterdam. And together with two other friends, we started a collective in 2016, mostly to reflect on today's society. So what we're doing is we try to evoke questions, stimulate the mind, and bring up conversations about societal themes. We do this by creating art, editorials, events, and talks in the past. But from today on, we also exist as a community, which means that we are more than a collective right now. And we started during the first lockdown as an initiative to find support and motivation for like-minded creatives. So on the slides, you can see some of our projects we did in the past with other platforms and communities in Amsterdam, which is mostly our focus as well. So we believe that creatives are in any form future pioneers of our society as well. So our mission is to trigger and to make a change by creating some more awareness.
Amazing. And that's also why we reach out to you guys, because we've actually got in touch in the first wave during lockdown, where we supported our activities. And you're working on an exciting project. You might be talking about it more later on, but I think it completely fits this theme. So happy to have you.
Thank you so much.
All right, then I'm gonna quickly move on to Chris. Hello, Chris.
Hello.
How are you?
Great. How are you?
Fine. I'm happy to have you. You also through a contact of us in Berlin, but you're residential in Rotterdam.
Yes.
Please introduce yourself.
Well, I came to the Netherlands 2 years ago to do my master's in new media and digital culture in Utrecht. And after living in Utrecht, I decided to move to Rotterdam, get the city vibes that I miss from living in Madrid. And right now I'm just working part-time and as a gaming journalist in a website in Spain. It's an all-female collective that is focusing on gaming and giving more space to women in video games. And we had a very extensive talks during the first lockdown about this kind of games that is bringing people together online, like Fall Guys or Among Us. And
cool.
It's basically what I do.
Yes, it's a very interesting angle. I mean, honestly, even I've never, thought of it. Of course, we suddenly things like House Party and all these apps suddenly became super popular. But I'm not a fanatic gamer, so I'm looking forward to hearing more about how gaming has influenced that.
Yes, of course.
Great. All right, we'll be back with you very soon. And thank you, Chris. Now we bring up a duo. You would say an artist duo, but they're not. It's best friends, BFF for life. Aline and Johanna, hello, how are you?
Hi, good. Thanks for having me.
Yes, I mean it's funny that this was also like brought to our attention that we should definitely have you on board as good friends between. I think Alina, you're in Amsterdam, Johanna, you're in Budapest.
That's right.
All right, and where have you lived together?
Yeah, we both grew up in Perth, and we've known each other since we were 2 years old. So we're 25 years in with our friendship, and we've worked together collaboratively, artistically, but then also professionally. We've done projects together and really focused on our relationship and our friendship.
Like these pictures, for example.
A few slides from some recent projects that we've done, and we're really excited to share and talk more about them.
Yeah, like this one as well.
Mm-hmm.
Nice mural. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Great. And so that's part of Pansy. And Joanna, you work with kids, am I right?
Yeah, so I work in an alternative school in Budapest.
Okay.
And at the moment, I have the opposite life to you. I go into school every day. I work in a mosque. It's a really interesting time to be working in education.
Imagine.
Mhm.
Yes. Wow. Well, great to have you both, and I'm looking forward to your insights when it comes to friendship, especially especially during the pandemic, the challenges. So yeah, great. I will bring back the others as well, and then we start our Q&A. Where's Chris? So many people. There you go. We also did like a few shout outs on Instagram around this topic, right? So how people experienced the friendships, how they've changed. Some are really only meeting the good friends because they they at least are convinced that those people are responsible. So the friendships that are a bit more distant, they're a bit more risky. So these are just some impressions of the answers we got. Some people even lost a friendship because the friend is suffering from a pre-existing condition, of course, which is terrible. And some others, improved their friendship because they talked a lot more, and others, they completely lost touch after. But yeah, this is just to give you an impression. But that's what Instagram said. So let's bring on a first question. Is let me get it. Is about the challenges. I already touched upon him. What challenges did COVID bring to your friendships? Like, it's more like a personal question, I'd say. Is there anyone who wants to raise a hand already?
Oh, I can start.
All right.
What was really surprising for me, and the biggest challenge, was experiencing collective hardship and the emotional strain it puts on you as an individual, but also on your friendships. A lot of my friends lost their jobs or went through breakups, and that kind of thing is normal in everyday life, but experiencing these hardships all at once meant that it was a lot harder to support so many people at once. And I think the long-term impact of this on friendships is kind of, it's hard to know whether it creates further distance and further strain, or if it'll sort of build a stronger tolerance and acceptance of each other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, people getting impatient. Yeah.
Yeah.
How have you both done it, for example?
I'm curious and also happy to add on that we have already been living overseas and apart from each other when we used to see each other almost every day. And then since maybe 2.5 years ago, we both moved to Europe from Australia. And so it was the first time that, well, maybe the second time that we were doing friendship at a distance. And I think that's something we'll talk on a little bit later, is about the use of like apps and Messenger and talking online or video calling each other. But I definitely felt like, the past few months have been a really challenging time because, I also started a business in the middle of the pandemic, and it's been definitely challenging because I think my friendships really tie into my work, and the people who I surround myself with are also going through a challenging time. So like you said, Jojo, it's like a collective struggle, and I feel like we've all cried through it
together. Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, that's good in those hard times. What about Crystal? Chris, any of you, any differences or?
Well, to me, it was a bit more frustrating than anything because I'm used to be far away from friends and family since I live in another country. But this time it was a bit different because there was no flights, no way to get home. So it was very frustrating that you couldn't reach physically the people that you miss. Like, it was hard, of course, but it was both ways hard because usually you can just go home. It's a 3-hour flight and you're there. And now it was like, there's no way I can go there.
Yeah, can imagine. Crystal, you want to
Yeah, we talked about it a lot as a collective. The first day of the lockdown, I think it was the 16th of March, we directly started a community just because we were feeling that we were losing grip on everything at once, as already been said. And I think we tend to be very strong when we have control and build on what we have, and that was not the case. Friendship-wise, I felt a lot of alignment with everybody because I think we all are going through the same kind of feeling and emotions, which is a big struggle. So I think it's very hard to just sort of adapt with the new different living environment. We could not share the friendship that we had with sport, museums, conversation, and food. So the bonding needed to, reset in sort of way, which was, I think, the biggest challenge for everybody.
Yeah, I imagine. I mean, say for me, it's like you haven't seen friends for quite some time already, and it's things like loneliness, right? I mean, I think they always somehow exist somewhere under the surface, and I think through this pandemic they even become more clear and more shown, I think. We even think that we talk about friendships, but then there's those like romantic friendships. People that are single, for example, it's even very challenging. Like maybe that's an entire different theme altogether. Dating. we might say that for another month, but I can imagine. And I was also wondering, like, have you seen like differences across generations? Are like the younger generation, are they coping better with the situation than older generations, or vice versa? Has anyone perceived any personal stories around that, or maybe found some research around that?
Well, I think older people maybe have more technical difficulties with this kind of media because they are not as used as the younger people to have the video chats or online conversations. They are more like old school, so they prefer physical contact. And I think older people maybe have struggled more with this because they are not as used to this kind of conversations and this kind of connection.
Yeah, I think that's we might, as younger generations, have more tools to connect with others, right?
Yeah.
Swiping and liking on Instagram all day.
But I think this is very new for all generations, and how to handle it can partly also be solved by looking at it more collectively. So how we can help and support each other through different generations. And I think the most difference is seen by through lifestyles. So what she was just referring to is that we, as a younger generation, maybe tend to cope better when it's when you try to connect with each other online. But older generations maybe have a very much easier time with being alone and doing things more themselves, or take up new activities at home, while we are maybe more
restless
for the online world for support than to do that at home with what you have.
Yeah. Are you, as Art2 Collective, also serving the older generations as well, or trying to help them as well?
We are now in contact with an initiative here in North in Amsterdam, but they also are busy in other cities, which is called Young and Old. They bring students and elderly together, and we are now in contact with them as well to uplift them and to work with them. So we definitely had that in mind to see how we could also be more aware what other people are doing, instead of only focusing on millennials, which we are, so it's easier. But, we try to expand our minds a bit in that as well.
Very cool. Very cool. Nice. And then, when we talk about friendships, I heard people say they created a friendship manifesto and so on, but are there any principles of friendship you have started to live through the pandemic, you'd say. And then there's an audience ticker question. Everyone who's watching at the moment, please feel free to drop in a comment. I can bring it up in this feed so the speakers can also see it. For example, this one. Excited to be here. Or this one. This one is fun as well. Just an intermezzo. Love the matching sweater top. Okay. So people are watching and they're paying attention, so that's great. So if you have any answers to these audience questions, please drop them here. But for now, to you guys,
Joe and I had a quick chat just before we hopped on, and we went through the questions together, and there was this particular question both reminded us of a particular childhood thing of having sleepovers, and that's something that as adults we don't really do so much, and it's something that I try and do with my friends here in Amsterdam, and like I've had to restart and rebuild my friends and my support network, and there's something incredibly like intimate about going to sleep in the same space and then waking up together and making coffee and making breakfast, and it's such a small thing or like a small action that I think is really helpful in building friendships and building intimacy and trust with each other. And it's also a sense of playfulness and silliness and being really vulnerable in your most like comfortable self too. So I think sleepovers are a really big part of our friendship, and I think should be brought back.
Sleepovers with a face mask.
Yeah.
1.5 meter distant sleepovers.
But I think people are seeing the friends within their bubble quite often anyway. So, I mean, Alina and I were talking about this in the context of like grown-up sleepovers pre-COVID were traveling together and staying in an Airbnb together, for example. And you get that same experience of sleeping in the same space, seeing your friends in pajamas and seeing your friends under different everyday circumstances that you wouldn't if you're just catching up for a coffee. And during COVID, especially when restrictions eased, but people were still being careful, they had a sort of a bubble of friends with whom they would otherwise have maybe gone traveling during the summer. And I think our kind of solution to going traveling was, like doing a sleepover together and experiencing those things together instead of going to an Airbnb, but sharing a space that's like your house. Yeah.
So that's principles of friendship that need to be relived. But are there principles that still stay strong? That still are here to stay? I mean, hugs, like little acts, of course, handshakes, high fives, whatever. It's like not possible, right? But that's more like physical principles. But I saw, Alina, you also created a list around friendship, I think, with some sort of values or something.
Yeah, so it's something that I feel like I'm really intentional about with all of my relationships, but my friendships especially, is creating some kind of manifesto or being in the same space with someone and writing about our friendship, writing about what's important to us. Joe and I have done it on many occasions, and we really talk in a complex and deep way about why we're friends and why we love each other so much. And also with my friends here in Amsterdam, we are incredibly intentional and speak, very often about what we value in friendship and why we're sticking together and what it means to be friends and to have friends. And I think that's an important part of growing and also staying close to each other.
Yeah, but also not to put you on the spot. Are there some values you would like to share here, or?
Oh my gosh, I didn't write it down, but from the top of my head, I think, you can
also revisit this later if you want.
Being honest, always being there for each other, and not necessarily being judgmental with your friends, whether they make a decision or if they're doing something, just being incredibly supportive. And I think it's yeah, I'm gonna find it, and then I'll
Okay, good. Okay, no worries. But this is interesting because this thing, these are also like thought starters, right? I mean, it's like, what if a friend of yours would be, you know, yeah, I would say like completely against all the measures that are taken, for example, you know, or like what is a friend that believes in all these theories happening out there that everything is a hoax and so on. Imagine you have friends like that. You're not like-minded, for example, right? So that means then you're also tested in your friendship. I mean, I've noticed within my own relationship that, like dealing with the situation at stake is also like challenging for some, like the one, handles it differently than the other, but then you still, as friends, you somehow want to be on the same page. You have not come across any of that with your friends? You're like, what are you talking about?
I think we were just already moving so fast before Corona, and I think a lot of our friends. I talk now for the four of us because as a collective we talked about this as well. And the world where we lived in was moving so fast, and we tried to stay on track with everything. And I think the things, like the values in the friendship that we start to relive, was talking about emotions and feelings more. It's not just, how are you doing? Fine. How are you? I'm so busy. It got more into depth, and you were trying to connect more with your friends in the weeks of lockdown. So that for us was something that we maybe took for granted before. Asking how somebody's really doing, and get more to the core with some of your friends. Or we relived a lot that we didn't talk about. Some of my friends were already not feeling well before COVID, and during the lockdown it was much easier, not easier, but it became, it got more value to talk about your emotions and your struggles, because we were all a bit more aligned with each other. So also other topics came on top of that, which made some of our friendships even stronger than before.
Yeah, and this is funny because there's one comment I think Patricia is saying as well. I think it's not been so much about losing friendship, but noticing which ones were stronger and sticking to those.
Yeah.
So I think that also connects to your. So to the audience, there are some questions directly focused on. There are a lot of text. It's like, I had a falling out with a few people in my life over stuff like conspiracy theories and hoarding flour and toilet paper. How do you deal with being judgmental or being judged for how you're dealing with a pandemic? Is there anyone who feels like answering that question?
Yeah, but I'm happy to maybe talk on the part about being judgmental, and maybe it's a matter, like, if you are friends with someone, it's maybe not looking at it from a distance, but talking with them, being like, hey, like, how's it going? Like, how come you feel like, what are you feeling to want to hoard flour or toilet paper or make strange decisions, and having really honest conversations with them, and not coming from a judgmental way, but from a way where you just want to understand how they're feeling. Because I think it is really easy to judge, and I feel like I'm really like a judgmental person sometimes, but it's just a matter of trying to have like a level conversation where you're not being like, why are you doing that, but more like, tell me how you're feeling, tell me what's going through your head, and how can I be there to help you.
You really have to be a very patient person to ask that question. But that's good. Okay. I think there's also interesting question around, I think we touched upon it as well, is about the role of online, and of course in this sense also gaming, new apps, and so on. How did that feel, like this sense of closeness? Was it there or wasn't? Do we feel close at the moment?
We experienced it like really close. We started a whole community during the lockdown, so for us online was a big sense of closeness. Today we have so many opportunities to find like-minded people online, which directly satisfied a sort of sense of closeness in general, with common interests and feeling and opinions. And my family, for example, is from Sweden, so having the opportunity to FaceTime with my grandmother, make group chats with friends, talk to each other on the other side of the world. Yeah, it gives so much back for you, that you're not feeling alone, and that you feeling you have the feeling that you're not alone in this. So giving our community as an example, I can definitely say that reaching out online keeps also a form of motivation, and it also keeps you very creative.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, true that. And that's how we connected as well.
Yeah.
Chris, you
Yes.
as a journalist, new media, what did you think of the sense of closeness in like video gaming? Is it perceived the same way, or?
Yeah, I think so, because online you have this community in different games, but in this moment where everyone was at home, a lot of people will rely online to pass the time and just entertain themselves. So I think it was like these communities, they grew, and I felt like it was more like also for people that are not that used to gaming, or they never played games before. They were like, okay, I have nothing else to do, so I will just maybe go online, find something to do, play some games. And even in my circles where gaming is not that popular, my friends were gaming, and they were like discussing and using these games to pass the time and just hang out together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like for example, even the whole racing online, like online virtual racing, like super popular. People were buying these like Formula One steering wheels and so on. I mean, this. I don't know. I'm not saying, but I'm the guy, here. So I'm just pointing out Formula One game chairs.
But it's
So,
true that
yeah,
these
through the roof.
games, they just became popular, like easy games to play that everyone knows how to pass through, and you can just hang out with your friends that way. It's a way. It's not like being physical, of course, but it's a way to spend time with your friends and have some quality time together.
Yeah. And I think it touches also on the theme we had last month, which is about belonging, right? So you enter this community, same like what Crystal was saying, that you feel like belong to, if you can share it even with friends. It's a great way of entertainment, of course.
Yes.
I also think that it's a way of doing something together, because often, I mean, initially, especially interactions online were phone calls, video calls, where you're just talking and you're chatting, and that's great. But after a while, that gets a bit tiring.
Mm-hmm.
And I find that it's easier to pass time together if you're doing something collectively. And I think gaming is an example of that. But another example that for me was a really positive thing that came out of COVID was this kind of online skill share that I would do with my friends. So instead of just catching up and talking together, we would, I don't know, I have a friend who's French and she learned Hungarian. And so we would just chat every week on Zoom, first in Hungarian and then in French, so that she could practice her Hungarian and I could practice my French. And that sort of gave our friendship and our online interaction another dimension.
It's a bit like intercambio, but then online.
Yeah.
Language exchange.
Yeah.
It's funny, like I think even I think everybody really wants to get into something new, right? I mean, looking for something new. But yeah, if you create that experience to be shared, I think it's even more powerful as well. There's no online sleepovers, right?
Sadly not.
Yeah. Okay. And Chris, I was wondering, these house party apps and so on, are they today still as popular as months ago? I mean, are still people using it a lot, or was it a hype and it left? And I don't know.
Well, now that every country has different rules and different types of lockdowns, I think it's getting more like a bit more weaker, but I think it's still going strong, because now some places are going back into lockdown, so you are stuck at home again and you have to work from home. So that is the way to spend the weekends now, because bars are closed, everything is closed. So you just go back to this online community again.
Yeah. There's also a question specifically to you. I'm just going to bring it in. By Jills. Hey, Christina, do you think there was an increase in gaming communities when COVID hit? Since gaming and staying home goes hand in hand. Yeah, so you partially already answered that one, right?
Yes, definitely. I think it was growing because for all ages, especially because people under 30s, they are working from home, so they just have to find something to entertain themselves. And young kids after school, they just go back to gaming because it's also part of their hangout community in teenagers. And yeah, I think I bought my PS4 when I was in lockdown because I didn't know what to do, so I was just buying games again. So I think everyone, at least at some point, they are getting more into gaming.
Yeah. And there's also something interesting here, because somebody says, yes, the time feels more precious now when you see somebody in real life. You know, like being in an online community versus offline, then is one and the other making the experience more powerful? Yeah. Good question.
We had our first meeting as a community a month ago, and we were already talking online. Rumena, who just made a comment, she's also part of our community, and we talked online for months, and we got to know each other really well. And then when we saw each other for the first time, it hit so differently. We were really appreciating that we could be in the same room, and this was, of course, a month ago when the rules were a bit easier. We had the 1.5 meter distance, but yeah, it's really a different experience when you see each other than having the communication only being online. So I can really relate to that. It was a really new experience for me as well.
Yeah, can imagine. But I think it's also like the other way around, right? I mean, for example, it can also be an excuse to not see each other.
Yes, but we talked about this again with my collective. It can be very personal without this being an excuse for the other person. Having to go through this in a time where we all stand still and reflect, it's hard on everybody. It's also an opportunity to turn to yourself. There's in some way more time to reflect, and this can be very confronting for people as well. I can imagine that people are going through a lot these days, and being alone is also a part of that. So I think also people should respect your space, and it has nothing to do with not wanting to be interactive with your friends, but it's also taking the opportunity, to reflect a bit more on your own life, and really, getting these days for yourself, not to isolate, but we think that a lot of people are going through the same thing, that now when in a lockdown, you get the time to reflect a bit more. You want to do that on your own as well.
Yeah, so it's nothing personal.
Well,
people shouldn't take it personal.
It's not personal, no.
Your context is not personal. Well, I think it's interesting thought, that through this as well, we tend to step out of a rat race, right? That we're constantly in, and really take more care for ourselves as well. That means maybe the frequency of how often you see your friends is slightly decreasing, and the time that you spend with yourself more or increasing. After all, there's only 24 hours in a day, right? Have you noticed any friends that you haven't heard of anymore because they didn't want to meet you? Alina or Jojo? I'm calling you Jojo now, sorry.
Yeah, no, go for it. I think for some of my friends who suffer from social anxiety and pre-COVID had a really hard time explaining why they didn't want to meet up with our friends so often, for them, it's actually it kind of eased the burden of constantly having to explain themselves. And in a way, it's a positive thing for them that now they have an excuse to step back from social situations.
Yeah. You've had those examples as well in your personal life?
Me?
Sorry?
Me?
Johanna? Yeah, you. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I do have a couple of friends who said that.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, somebody's phone. And like how, I mean, Alina and Joanna, I'm just wondering, I mean, you've been like, ever friends. Has anything got stronger through this or more regular maybe?
Speaking of regular, we actually use our time on the toilet as a time to check in with each other. So it's usually when we're pooping and we've got a little bit of like extended time to sit and reflect.
Totally. I think we are very frank with it. Like we love to poop and then catch up with each other, and we're like, hey honey, I'm doing a great poo, like how's it going, how's your day going? And it is a really significant part of our friendship, and we make artwork about like poops and normalizing poop talk, and also the fact that I think it's also important to maintain your gut health, and we share tips about what we're eating that day and things like that. So
while you're pooping, or
why not? We've done a project. Actually, the picture with us with the little party hats on is from the project we did about best friendship, and everyone was invited to make a poop portrait of their best friend.
An edible poop.
An edible one.
Wow. Is this idea born during the pandemic, or this was already since you were 2 years old?
It was definitely consolidated, I think, like during the pandemic, and we often dream of different kinds of projects that we could do together. And I think, pre-pandemic, we were already using, like the different apps. I know that was a question that came up. We use Messenger, and we chat really regularly. Almost.
So this is interesting, right? Because this is one of the questions as well. Like, what can we do to make our friendships last? Make edible poop of each other.
But I think that also comes back to like being attentive to your body, yourself, but then also your friends. I wrote a little list, like being attentive to your friends, seeing how they are, how are their poops, how are they feeling today, and not just like, how are you? I'm fine, but really understanding like what they're going through. Remembering like their birthdays or small achievements, little wins that they've had through the day or through the last few months, and things that they're proud of, and celebrating together, like collectively celebrating, whether it's like a drink from Zoom or in another way. I think that's really important to help like continue and also grow friendships.
Is this something nice to share in a comment box? So what was could you mention the list again?
I can write it down in the comments.
Okay, you can write it down in the comments. Yes. Oh, by the way, Jan says yay for poop. So,
thanks, Jan.
I think he got inspired, I think. Great. But thanks. I mean, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I just wanted to say, I think another thing that we could do to make our friendships last is also be quite frank about our communication style. Like, if Alina has a problem, she communicated to me once that if she has a problem, she just wants me to listen to it. She doesn't want me to solve it, or she doesn't want me to help her solve it. And I didn't realize that before that. I had tried so hard to, come up with solutions with her. And I think having those conversations with your friends is really important too, of like, when I have a problem, how do you want me to react?
And I think it changes as well. It's not necessarily like today, or like, I don't always want you to help me, but some days I'm like, hey Jojo, like, can you help me figure this problem out? Can you talk through this with me, think through it? Or some days I'm like, I just want you to listen, and I just want you to also tell me that like things are shit and we just want to sulk together. So I think dealing with like problems, but then also like how do you want me to respond if you're feeling grumpy? Like, do you want me to leave you alone? Do you want me to like give you a hug? Talking through these sort of sometimes complex and complicated emotional feelings, and having these conversations before they happen is something that I think is really important, and then it saves you the turmoil later when you are face to face with it. Anyway, I'm going to write this down in the chat.
Do you then also have a manifesto for men, or?
Oh, I don't think so. It's something that Joe and I address quite a lot in our work, and we talk about a lot. Is like there is this sort of female friendship that is really strongly shown in the media, and it's a much more normalized thing. But we think men should have strong friendships, and it's something we see in our male friends and like in our boyfriends, that they don't have maybe these like close and really strong connections with their friends. And I think it's just also the way that we're grown up, and the way that we teach boys to be strong and not be
talk about feelings.
Talk about feelings. Like all I do is talk about feelings, and all I want to do is talk about my feelings. And I find it a shame if people don't feel like they can speak frankly about their feelings. And a big part of our collaborative work when we work together is inviting people to talk about their feelings and share their feelings and celebrate their friendships, whether they're female or male or however they want to identify.
Yeah, and I think that list is even, I think, now more than ever more important, to be readdressed, to remind ourselves of these kind of things, especially because we don't see each other physically. Well, not that much. Okay, interesting. I might take on the poop example and call my friends.
Do it. I've had some really interesting responses when I've tried that with new friends.
With new friends, okay, nice. They were caught by surprise.
Yes.
Interesting. Okay. What about you, Christina? Like, how would you answer this question?
I will say play games, make some games with your friends just to pass the time. Something that my friends and I did during the first lockdown was to reunite on Saturday night, and with a glass of wine each, we will make our own trivia quiz. So we will just have fun answering the questions, and the winner of that round will have to make up for the next round. So they will have to write their questions and play the game next time. And I think it brought us closer because it was like hanging out together on a Saturday night. So it's really fun just to come up with something together and just have fun with it. It can bring you closer, even if you're not talking about feelings or deep stuff. You are just bonding and having fun.
Yeah, so it can go both ways, as you say.
Yeah.
You can deep stuff and bonding, or just have fun.
Exactly.
Like, pub quizzes online, that kind of stuff. Creating parties with friends. Yeah. And what about you, Chris? I mean, I know you've done for a project also done a lot of research. You told me once that people on average need 8 hugs a day.
Yeah, we talked about it on the phone, I remember. We did some research about that we don't touch in general in friendships, like hugs, giving hands, holding hands, or this has nothing to do with if you're if it's a female relationship or a male relationship with friends, because in our community we have a lot of men as well who gave us also more of a perspective that it's because we are 4 women as a collective. We speak about our experiences as women, but the need comes from both genders, men and women, or it doesn't really matter. So I think it doesn't really have to do with that. I agree with talking about feelings, that men maybe have a harder time with that. But when we did some research about being close to people, that hugs are really important for your mental health, and that there was like a meter of how many hugs you needed a day to like reach like 100% of happiness through hugs, and that were 8 per day. So if you have kids or a husband or a partner or wife or your parents near to you and you have that daily connection, it's something really nice to have, and you really see that people who don't have it, or not see, but if you hear them talk about it, how much they miss just having somebody near them to give a hug, because it's very comforting in these times. So we had a lot of discussions and talks about that. But what we also talked about was to keep each other motivated. So if you normally go for a walk with your friends, you still go for a walk, but you FaceTime each other, for example, or the same with we had cookouts where we just like shared a recipe and all made the same banana bread. I mean, we all had to share our recipes on banana bread, of course. And we did like weekly themes with our community by triggering each other based on themes such as anxiety or loneliness. And then at the end of the week, we all came together and showed each other's work, which could be a poetry or a picture or an artwork. So, but what we can do to make our friendships last, I think it's a mindset, even if there's COVID or not. I have friends in Sweden, across the world, and I don't speak to them weekly, but the bond is still very strong. So I think in general, it's a mindset, and you meet people for a reason, and you keep in contact with them for a reason in any way you can to keep that relationship.
Yeah, absolutely. Here, here. That's a manifesto in itself as well. I think you all have to publish some books, I think, about friendship. I have one more question. Thank you, Crystal, for that amazing statement as well. I have one more question from Jan on communication. How do you know which video calls should actually be texts? Okay. Yeah, it takes up a lot of our day as well. Yeah. Go for a walk.
Is it also like, I mean, which should have been text? I think if it flows, the communication flows. I mean, if you want to text something because you don't want to do it face to face by your phone, then I think that's up to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we should tell them, or come up with something nicer than video calls, like, right? Doing banana cake or so on. And this is the thing, is like, you really have to be very proactive, right? I mean, there's always within groups of friends, always the few that take initiative and really are proactive in organizing. And then there are those that, yeah, you never hear. So I think if you have it in you to be proactive, be that motivator maybe to reach out to others, right? And ask them those questions. I think it's, we're not all that equal, or, we all differ in character as well. Yeah. This is actually has been the last question already. Is there any last statement you guys wanted to make around a friendship, and maybe in general, or even during this pandemic? And even to the audience, if you have a last question, please raise them now, because we're heading towards the end already. Time flies when you're having fun. No, see, I hear people think. Like,
there was a question that maybe we missed. It's from a Facebook user about if you're deciding to hang out in a physical location, do you feel a sense of COVID guilt? I think is a really interesting one.
Thank you so much.
Especially now in the Netherlands, where things are sort of like partial lockdown. Maybe we see each other, maybe we don't. And I think this is a really tricky thing, and something I really struggle with as someone who runs a bricks and mortar shop. I don't run an online shop. I run something where it relies, my income relies on people coming into my space and seeing people and interacting with people. And I definitely feel a sense of responsibility and guilt with, like inviting people into the space. And I'm not really sure how I'm dealing with it. And I think I'm just sitting with the guilt at the moment. So I'm doing my best. I'm following like as many measures as possible, but I think it's something we're all struggling with. Does anyone have tips?
COVID guilt, yes. On being open, you mean, or letting people in, or
yeah, all of
in
it.
general?
And, you know,
Yeah.
running events or doing workshops, which is a really big part of my business. And yeah, I'm not really sure how I'm dealing with the guilt at the moment. How are you guys?
If you have a community, then you should also ask your community, right, and listen to them as well. I think that we're also trying to do more and more and more with everything we do. I mean, we don't have a physical space. You know, will be amazing. Who knows? One day. But yes, everything is online. But what we do online is like we really want to, you know, surround ourselves with a lot of people and ask for their input on what we should, you know, talk about and cover and how we should deal with it. And I think that's maybe something as well that group of people can take away your COVID guilt. You know, maybe it's more, you know, that they say, you know, soothing you, as in, you know, this is the situation. You should. This is this situation. That's what friends should be for as well, right? In that sense, because they're you know, people say if you have 100 fans, right, then it's those 100 fans that you need to talk to about it. And yeah, I think you're not the only one in that respect, because we all like juggling like with what we should do in this situation. So I'm not sure if there's a wrong or right within the rule book. I mean,
yeah, I've definitely experienced COVID guilt as well, and as someone who works in a school with a lot of kids and their parents and their grandparents, it's really hard to know. It's really hard to meet up with friends and decide when to or how, or yeah, it's a really tricky question and I don't have the answer, but I'd like to reassure Facebook user that I certainly experience COVID guilt as well.
Yeah. Like I mean, I haven't gone out and about, you know, drastically, I have to say. I mean, I think if it's within your bubble and it's only a few times a week, you know, even in the past, I mean, like even throughout summer, for example, right? I mean, everybody was again out and about and nobody was maybe feeling guilty. But now suddenly, you know, numbers are rising and now we all feel guilty about it. Right?
Yeah.
That's tough. I have here, when it comes to hanging out, my social battery is shorter than before and I get tired earlier, even if I love spending time with friends.
Yeah, I think it's overwhelming now. If you meet up with more than one person, for example, that it can be very overwhelming in the beginning if you have adjusted your new normal with not doing that and keeping distance. That having the energy close to you again in the same room can, I will not say tire you out, but it gives you the right energy to feed off. I think emotionally, but I think it can also be that your social battery is much shorter because you have to get used to it again, communicating, socializing, interacting. Even if I think for those who are very sensitive for that, can have a hard time. I had a hard time with it as well. So if I would hang out with my friends for a day, I would be very good for a whole week. So I felt like, I think maybe the appreciation was also a lot higher. So I'm looking forward to see all my friends, and I got really excited. And it drains, of course, a lot of energy at once because you don't do that every day or multiple times a week. I think, it can be very draining.
Yeah. We have to train ourselves again.
Sort of.
Yeah. And I think we all, I was actually saying this afternoon, the thing is that we, you know, it's also like because there's no perspective, at least it will get better at one point, but we don't know when, you know. It's also making it very vague, or normally you put something on the horizon, you know, you work towards it, and that gives you peace in some way. Don't know.
Yeah.
It's changed.
I think one of the most used phrases during this time is, when we get out of this, we will do this and that. And I think everyone is looking forward to that time where you can just go back and travel together and just even hugging each other. So
Yeah, absolutely true. I think next year we'll have a theme which is going to be about hugging. for an entire month, we're going to be talking about hugging, I think. Yeah. Okay, guys, I think this is it, really. No more questions. If you have a last statement to make, then now's the time. And otherwise, I really, really would like to thank you all individually. It's been a great ride. We shared all your deets in the comments as well. For people, if you want to check out their social media and their links, we put them as well in the comment box. Thank you so much, Crystal, for your time.
Thank you.
And when I remove you all, you can stay put. When I close out, we can maybe have a little chat. But for the audience, you will be removed. So thanks so much, and all the best with Artwood Collective.
Thank you.
And Chris, good luck with all the new media developments and your journalist career.
thank you.
Whenever you have something to share, we'd love to read it or know more about it.
Yes,
so thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
And then the two in the matching shirts, Jojo and Alina, thank you so much for your time. I hope you enjoyed the talk about friendship.
Yeah, friendships.
Yes.
And thanks for sharing all the insights. And I think it's exemplary. And even for myself, I learned about a few things that I could use in my friendships. So thanks as well, and all the best in Budapest, and hope to see you around in Amsterdam.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, Robin.
guys.
Bye.
Will do. Thank you so much for
Bye.
having us.
Ciao. And then you're all back to me. Yes. To close off, I hope you were inspired by this talk around friendship. From my side, absolutely. It's inspiring to hear all these personal stories and get all these insights. Before we close off, just a few more updates. Again, not to forget the Better Citizen Challenge, which is happening next week. Please sign up through acitymade-by-people.com/challenge. If you sign up, you get all the challenges in your inbox each day. We're kicking off on the 26th. So each day you will receive a challenge. And don't forget, the ones that are performing best will receive a free annual membership to ACT Made by People, which will be launching next week, which is super exciting. And of course, we have a Next City Talks, and the monthly theme next month, again, is Support Your Locals. We've touched upon this theme earlier this year a couple times, but it's still so relevant, and we still need to put more spotlight on our fellow local businesses. So we cannot just ignore that. So that will happen in November, on the 18th of November, another talk. And I want to thank you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for being here, taking your time after work probably to tune in and listen to these wonderful speakers. My name is Robin again. I hope to be seeing you next month. Stay tuned, sign up, follow us everywhere where you want and like. And looking forward to our next talk together, City Enthusiasts. So thank you so much, and wishing you all the best. Stay safe and stay healthy. Bye-bye.